Hey ladies and gentlemen, SnivyG.Absol here, and today we're going to be discussing a certain change that has been brought to us in the latest update, the Forgotten Kingdom DLC of Remnant 2. Now, Remnant 2 is a game that I love very much and I am deeply passionate about. A game which I wish to see only the best come from it. The best coming from the decisions made by the developers. However, I'm here to discuss a certain decision about the change of a weapon in the latest update for Remnant 2. So today we're going to be talking about a weapon that has been with us since the first game, Remnant from the Ashes, and has made its return back in Remnant 2. I am of course talking about the Corrupted Savior, or as it was originally called in Remnant from the Ashes, the Fusion Rifle. Only acquired through beating hardcore mode and obtaining the regular Savior, then spending 10 corrupted shards to turn it into the corrupted variant known as the Corrupted Savior. And trust me, beating hardcore mode and gathering 10 corrupted shards is no easy task. The Fusion Rifle, aka the Savior or the Corrupted Savior in this particular case, has been a weapon since Remnant from the Ashes, and it was my favorite weapon in Remnant from the Ashes. A weapon that I loved so dearly and that I constantly talked about with a friend, how I really desired the weapon to make a return in Remnant 2. And you can imagine my excitement when I got my wish to see that the Corrupted Savior made a return, and it functioned exactly how it did in the previous game, and it was perfect. Nothing needed to be changed. It functioned amazingly, with a few minor tweaks to make it more appealing, giving it a facelift, so to speak, and increasing the efficacy of its ease of use. This thing is a remarkable piece of firepower, and when this thing came out it had a magazine capacity of 50 and its ammo reserves was sitting at 300, a very remarkable amount of ammunition, as well as giving you 6 high capacity magazines to work with so you're not reloading so often. Can you kinda see where this is going? Let's get into the problem now that has come to my attention in the latest update. Going over to the patch notes of the Corrupted Savior, the first two are as followed. Reduce magazine size from 50 to 40, and reduce total ammo from 300 to 200. This may not seem like much of a change to you folks, but believe me, it is, and a quite staggering one at that. And when I saw this change, I couldn't help but frown, because I knew that my beloved Savior that was perfect in pretty much every way was changed for the worse, to the point where I would go as far as to say it has fallen from grace. And these are just the first two things. I haven't even gotten to the rest yet, but let's take a moment to talk about this, and why this is such a significant change that needs to be reverted. You see, during my battle against one of the newest bosses in the DLC, I found myself using the Corrupted Savior for this particular boss fight, a boss fight that I would go on to win said boss fight, but I found myself running out of ammo constantly and having to resort to ammo boxes to refill my ammo because I had no time to pick up any excess ammo laying on the ground. As I mentioned before, this thing had a 50 round magazine size and 300 ammo on reserve. So a total of 300 bullets. So this change now makes it so you have one less magazine and the magazine size is smaller, which means reloading more often and having to scrounge for more ammo. This doesn't make using the weapon fun. It's gotten to the point where if I even want to use it, I have to use the mutator extended to extend the capacity beyond 50 rounds. But I don't want to use extended for this weapon. I want to use prophecy, but I can't, because I'll be reloading so much more often, and I'll be running out of ammo much too quickly. Because removing 100 bullets is nothing to scoff at. Now granted, in Remnant from the Ashes, the capacity was at 400, but I can understand when making the transfer over to Remnant 2, losing 100 bullets. But so long as the capacity stayed at 300, it was perfect. Mind you, the Fusion Rifle in Remnant from the Ashes did much less damage than the version in Remnant 2. Therefore, having 400 bullets is a necessary way to compensate for the lack of damage, for the lack of DPS. This is just something I realized post-editing. So just putting this in here now. I even got to play with this weapon a little bit. Not as much as I had hoped before the change, but when the change did come, I couldn't help but be turned off from using the weapon. Now let's go over some of the other changes. Increase base to rate of fire from 3.0 to 3.15, which is good, I have no objections to that. However, reduce the max rate of fire at full mod power. So how this weapon works is that it is practically a fully automatic Gatling gun with a rate of fire that increases as the mod power is generated. And it has a total of 5 stacks when it comes to its fusion cannon ability, which is his mod. And at max power, it shoots very rapidly. However, reducing the rate of fire at its max charge is quite the turnoff. Next up is reduce horizontal and reduce vertical recoil. I don't exactly have an objection to this, however, the horizontal and vertical recoil did not exactly need it to be changed because it was honestly fine the way it was. It had a bit of a kick to it, but it was something to give the weapon a bit of a learning curve to control such a powerful weapon. Increased reload speed, that's fine. Added a new reticule for clarity. I'm just gonna be blunt with this one. The new reticule is honestly very lackluster. I much more preferred the old one opposed to the new one because the new one just looks like something similar to the Wrangler and other reticules in the game, whereas this one is very chic in design, simple but not too simple, and very satisfying when aiming at a target and knowing how the accuracy pattern works. They also changed the reticule for the mod, which I also don't exactly like it. I much more prefer the circle, because how this thing works, how its mod works, is it shoots a beam that gets bigger with each charge, and anything within that circle would just be decimated. So this is one of the main things I feel that needs to be reverted. Going over the other changes, they reduced the mod cost, added a activate animation, which it already did, so this confuses. It already did have an activation animation, so this confuses me. They increased the mod fire speed by 300%, unnecessary, but okay. It now reloads 20% of ammo per charge consumed. Cool, but unnecessary. I get what they were going for, but it's not a big enough change for me to overlook the reduction in ammo capacity and magazine size overall. Reading the dev notes, it says that this bad boy came out of the gate super hot, heavily overperforming in most categories except mod. We wanted more back and forth between primary fire and the mod, so we made a few adjustments to make casting it more appealing. You can now build up the mod much quicker, fire it faster, and reload ammo back into the primary magazine based on the charges spent. Another weapon we'll be keeping a close eye on for future adjustments. And I do hope y'all see this video, because I do hope you take this critique into consideration, and I do severely hope that you revert it back to the way it was. Maybe keep some of the things like the reduction in mod power and the whole reloading the 20% primary ammo per charge consumed. I never had a problem with the gun's original intention. I always treated the mod as a trump card situation, whereas I build up stacks to 5 and wait for an opportune time to strike at the opponent's weak spot with a very formidable blast to deal substantial damage. And if I wanted to create a loadout centered around the fusion rifle and focus more on the usage of its mod, then you could easily do so by creating a build centered around it. For example, selecting Archon as your prime archetype to allow it to have greater mod generation, as well as put on trinkets that allow for greater mod generation. Same goes for applying a mutator to the weapon itself, like example, Prophecy. It felt so good to use this weapon in Remnant from the Ashes that when I saw that it had made its return into the second game, I was thrilled beyond belief. And using it prior to the update for the short time I was able to, it felt very reminiscent to the first game, and I very much enjoyed that. However, when the changes happened, the light of that reminiscence feeling just dimmed, and I don't really feel that light anymore. It doesn't feel as good as it used to be, and I'm sure a lot of players would also agree. Overall, the main problems with this weapon after the changes is the reduction in mag capacity, reduction in reserve ammo, and the reticules for both the mod and the primary fire. These three main things make it so I don't really feel like using the weapon anymore, truth be told. Which is saying something because the fusion rifle has been my favorite weapon since the first game. And I'm glad to see it have returned in the second game, only for it to get nerfed. It did not need a nerf. It did not really need much changes at all, even. It was perfect, and well worth being a hardcore reward. And mind you, again, this is a hardcore reward, so a hardcore reward, and especially the grinding aspect to get the corrupted variants, should feel worth it. And after this change, I no longer feel that it is worth it. Devs, if you're listening, which I have good faith that you are listening, because I have faith in these developers because they actually listen to their player base and they really do care about the game. Remnant 2 has grown to be one of my favorite games, if not my favorite. And I've had countless hours of fun on this game, and I continue to do so. Especially with this new DLC. The new DLC is fantastic, amazing, perfection even, and so on. So I do hope that this gets fixed so that players may truly enjoy their hardcore reward experience. So that's pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed, and y'all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.